Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Sam Cohen, founder and CEO of Amazon Consulting Experts.
Sure. Who here has ever failed? And no one raised their hand in the whole fucking room. So I paused and I said, I know you're out there. I can hear your hearts beating. Who here has ever failed? And I demanded an answer, and then a few people raised their hand. I said, who here has ever failed? And now they started to comply. So I said, great. When you failed, why did you fail? And they said all the things you said. Didn't have enough time, didn't have the right technology, didn't have the money, didn't have the contacts, had the wrong people. The people said we had the wrong leader, right? And then this voice in the darkness, the whole room was pitch black, says, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. And I looked down, and it's Vice President Al Gore, who you probably don't know much about American politics, but he and Bush Jr., they tied, basically, and it had to go to our Supreme Court to decide who's going to be it, and he lost. And when he said that, we were in Northern California, which is all Democrats who would have been supporters of his. They all stood up and gave him a standing ovation when he said this. And when they stopped the standing ovation, I said, that's one way to try to explain why you didn't become president of the United States. But I wouldn't say it's an accurate one. And there was this pause, like, what the fuck is he about to say? And I said, because let's just do this logically. Everything you people have told me, I didn't have the technology, I didn't have the right contacts, I didn't have the time, I didn't have money. Everything you've told me, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices, those are resources. And so you're telling me I failed because I didn't have the resources. And I'm here to tell you what you already know. Resources are never the problem. It's a lack of resourcefulness is why you failed. Because the ultimate resources are emotional states. Creativity, decisiveness, passion, honesty, sincerity, love. These are the ultimate human resources. And when you engage these resources, you can get any other resource on earth. Resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. And if you don't have what you want, stop telling yourself the story because you don't have the money, you don't have the time. That's bullshit. It's because you haven't committed yourself where you would burn your boats. If you want to take the fucking island, burn your fucking boats. And you will take the island because people, when they're going to either die or succeed, tend to succeed.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sam Cohen, Amazon Consulting Experts, founder and CEO. For those of you who don't know me or my story, I was a corporate level executive for a big electronics company for many years in New York City. And about 2008, 2009, we got word that anybody who was making six figures was either going to get a massive pay cut or was going to be let go from the company. And that's when everything changed. So for the next 2 years, I left the company. For the next 2 years, I struggled to, make a living and put food on the table. And I went from making a lot of money to making no money. And by the end of 2010, I had exhausted all my resources, and I was looking for another job. And then I realized that another job wouldn't solve my problems. And so I started researching online like a madman for about 18 hours a day. And I was selling DVDs at the time in street fairs and flea markets. And I attempted to sell 1,000 DVDs at one shot on eBay, where I'd had previous success many years ago. I used to do very big business on eBay. And then eBay changed on me, and a lot of things changed, and it wasn't what it used to be. So I attempted to sell 1,000 DVDs at one time on eBay for $1,000, and a lot of these were public domain DVDs, and they weren't really worth much. So to add value to the wholesale lot, I added my own DVDs from my own collection, and I included things like the Beatles anthology and the Twilight Zone and Top Gun and Rain Man and things that people would actually want to see. And I got an email through eBay from a customer asking me how many of the good titles were in the 1,000 units that I was offering. And when I answered that it was just one of each, he said, oh, so 900 of these are basically worthless. There's only about 100 of these that have any value. So we got to talking and, through eBay, and I asked him what he was going to be doing with these because I was trying to see where the value was. And I said, are you going to be selling these individually on eBay? You're going to be selling these in your retail store, in a flea market? And he said to me, no, I got a couple of kids working for me. I pay them $8 an hour, and we sell 1,000 DVDs a month on Amazon. I said, it's good to know. I didn't even know you could sell on Amazon back in 2011. So the next thing I did was Google, how do I sell on Amazon? And there wasn't a whole lot of information online. I started watching YouTube videos. I started looking into Amazon. I started Googling that same phrase over and over again, hoping to get different answers of how to sell on Amazon. And by March of 2011, I had set up an account. And right away, we were doing business. We were doing $25,000 a month. And I called a company that was a software provider, and I made friends with one of the salesmen over there, and he said, you got to start doing FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. You have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. The whole concept seemed very foreign to me. The idea of buying merchandise and then labeling it and boxing it and shipping it to Amazon without it being sold and then hoping it sells, it was hard to wrap my brain around that. It took me about 6 months till I did Fulfillment by Amazon to figure out how to print the labels. I'm not the most tech-savvy guy in the world. And I shipped in my first shipment to Amazon in October of 2011. And my sales quadrupled overnight. We were heading into the fourth quarter, and sales went from $25,000 a month to $100,000 a month overnight. From there, it's grown to where we're doing close to $2 million a month these days on Amazon.com. We sell everything from toys to DVDs to shoes, clothing, anything we can make money on. Whenever anyone asks me, what do you sell on Amazon? My answer is always anything we can make money on. So we've gotten to understand the Amazon marketplace. We know how to research. We know how to analyze. We know how to determine sales velocity. We know how to calculate profit margins and fees, and that's what we do. So about 2 years ago, I was featured in the Wall Street Journal, and I got bombarded with people asking for help on Amazon. And I'd always helped people for free in Facebook groups, and people had called me that had lost their jobs and wanted their own business, or they were eBay sellers and they wanted to sell on Amazon. And so I found myself spending more than half my week helping people sell on Amazon. And that was fine with me. My business was mature, and it was pretty much on autopilot. So I really got a lot of fulfillment out of helping people. So what I found out was my Amazon business sustains me, but my consulting business fulfills me. And so I started putting more and more of my time into the consulting. We decided we're going to take 100 clients, and we're going to work with them, hand in hand. We're going to teach them everything we know, all the tricks of the trade, all the secrets. And we built up the consulting business. We had a 98% success rate the first year. We took people from $0 to $3 million in their first year on Amazon. We took companies that were trying to figure out Amazon, and we took them to $10 or $20 million in their first year in Amazon sales. And we really were able to build a community and a family that we were able to work with. Most of those people re-upped for a second year, and it's been a tremendous blessing to be able to help people grow their businesses. I spoke at Retail Global in Las Vegas, and we got tremendous feedback from that. They asked me to come speak here, and I was happy to do so. Obviously, Amazon is coming to Australia. You're all aware of that. It's going to come down to how resourceful are you? What business assets do you have that you could use to leverage Amazon coming to Australia? I know a lot of people in this room fear Amazon coming to Australia, but you really need to embrace it. You need to look at Amazon as your friend, not your enemy. You need to look at it as an opportunity to grow your business with other marketplaces and other platforms. Life is 10% what you experience and 90% how you respond to it. So there's nothing you could do to change the fact that Amazon's coming to Australia. You need to embrace it. You need to figure out, how can I maximize this? How can I monetize this? And you really need to learn the Amazon marketplace and understand the nuances and all the inner workings of it. And we have a lot of Australian clients that are selling on Amazon.com and Amazon UK, and they're wildly successful. They're importing a lot of Australian products that are not available in the U.S. but have a demand. So let's just say you had a barbecue sauce or something that's wildly popular here in Australia, but it wasn't available in the U.S. If you brought that product into the U.S. and you sold it on Amazon.com, you'd pretty much own the market on that item. So there's a lot of opportunities like that we work hand in hand with our clients on. There's a lot of opportunity, Amazon International. There are 11 different marketplaces that Amazon has right now. .com is by far and away the biggest of the marketplaces. UK is up there, Germany. They're doing Canada and Mexico and India, and obviously they're coming to Australia. It's going to be their 12th marketplace. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth, both in Australia and abroad. So understanding the market. I'm just going to forward this a second. There are roughly 2 to 3 million sellers, and that number is a very dynamic, fluid number, of third-party sellers. What that means is sellers that are selling on Amazon Marketplace that are not Amazon themselves. So the way Amazon works, either you could buy it from Amazon themselves, which is known as first-party selling, or you could buy it from one of the couple of million third-party sellers like us on Amazon. Now, when you sell on Amazon, there's two different ways you could do it. You could either do what's called fulfilled by merchant, or you could do fulfilled by Amazon. In order for your products to be eligible for Prime and the 2-day shipping and all the benefits that go along with being an Amazon client, you need to have your goods at fulfillment by Amazon for all intents and purposes. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, that's predominantly how it goes. So when you send your goods into Amazon's fulfillment centers, and they have them all over the world, you're at a unique advantage in that your goods are eligible for Prime. So when someone's searching on Amazon and they search by Prime offers only, you'll have what's called the buy box, okay? Or you'll be in a rotation for those people that have the buy box. The buy box is where 90% of the sales happen on Amazon, and the volume is astronomical. I mean, you won't even, if you have the right products in the right market at the right price, you won't be able to keep the goods in stock. That's how good Amazon is. We have items that we sell thousands of every month, and we're the only seller, or we're one of 3 sellers, and we own that market, and the margins are healthy, and the velocity is healthy. We have other items that we make ourselves. We make an item, I was just telling someone outside, we make an anti-inflammatory cream in New Zealand, and it's based with Manuka honey, and we're selling tons of it on Amazon, and now we're coming out with a full product line of complementary products under that brand umbrella that we're going to be selling on Amazon. So if you make your own products or you're selling other people's products, you have a tremendous opportunity in front of you, both on Amazon.com and UK, and obviously when they come to Australia. I know a lot of people think Amazon's going to struggle when they come to Australia. Amazon is a disruptor. They will impact profit margins. They will impact profitability. They will impact the carriers. They will impact everything here. And that's not a bad thing. But, a lot of people are concerned about the geographical challenges in Australia and how is Amazon going to overcome that. It's not going to be a problem. They'll lose money if they have to, just to gain market share, as they've done all over the world. They've been in business 21 years. They're now dominating pretty much everything. There's a lot of retailers in the U.S. and abroad that didn't view Amazon as a threat, and now they're either going out of business or they're suffering terribly. So you need to get on board. You need to understand the market. You need to analyze the market. You need to see how you could piggyback on this momentum. So for those of you that are manufacturers, you definitely want to have a presence on this marketplace, whether it's .com or AU. You definitely want to work on your e-commerce strategy, What is your blueprint? What is your roadmap? What are your policies? What are your policies for your retailers? Are they going to be allowed to sell on Amazon? Is there minimum advertised pricing? You know, you got to be able to control the brand experience. You got to be able to control the price, the distribution, the quality, and everything that goes along with your brand, because your brand is your livelihood. For retailers, you need to work hand in hand with manufacturers, work on getting exclusives to sell on Amazon, work on specific SKUs that are exclusive to you. I know a lot of retailers get their own private model numbers or their own SKUs or their own variations of a popular SKU so that there's not a lot of downward price pressure. We've seen a lot of success with that on Amazon as well. You can literally bring products to market that either have demand or have no demand, and you could be wildly successful on Amazon. eBay and Amazon marketplaces. So how many people in this room sell on eBay? Most of you. How many of you have your own websites? Okay. How many of you are from New South Wales? Queensland? Victoria? So that's pretty much the whole room. Okay. So eBay and Amazon. I've been selling on eBay for about 20 years until a couple of years ago when it wasn't the best use of my time. We were getting bombarded with emails and returns and fraud from buyers and counterfeit sellers, and people were selling stolen merchandise, and it just became, this is in the U.S., it became the Wild West. It was very hard to control. We were dealing with PayPal issues, we were dealing with customer issues, we were dealing with competitor issues, and it just, we realized that we were spending half our time on eBay, and it was only generating about 10% of our business. So we made the conscious decision to shut down eBay and Newegg and Rakuten and Sears and Walmart, and we just put all our efforts into Amazon, and our business exploded from there. Now, I'm not saying to do that, but that was a decision that we made strategically to focus all our efforts on Amazon. So eBay and Amazon are similar, but they're very different. The Amazon customer is a much more affluent customer. They're a lot less price conscious than the eBay customer. They're a lot less inquisitive via email. They're a lot less demanding. And, you know, I look at it as they're a Saks or a Nordstrom or a Bloomingdale's customer rather than a Walmart customer or, you know, a lower customer. They're much more into selection and service and convenience rather than just price. And for us retailers, that means that there are exceptional profit margins to be had if we know what we're doing. So there are certain items we sell at full MSRP. Nobody comes on the listing. Nobody complains about the price. And we sell a boatload of the product simply because it's available from Amazon. It's eligible for Prime. We have 100% feedback with over 2 million transactions. And it's in stock and it's eligible for Prime. And we have it in stock and we have great metrics. And it just sells because it's on Amazon. Obviously, a lot more people are buying on mobile than they used to. People are buying cars on their cell phones. People are buying stuff that you wouldn't believe on their cell phones. I was with a guy in Vegas. He bought a $150,000 Tesla on his cell phone. And I was like, that's pretty gutsy. But he did it, and he got the car, and he's very happy. But, okay, I want to talk a little bit about Amazon's core leadership principles. I know Eric Heller spoke about this a little bit earlier. Amazon has 14 leadership principles that they live and die by. Again, Amazon is your friend, not your enemy. They're very, those of you that know Amazon, they're customer obsessed. They take ownership in everything they do. They invent and simplify. They are right a lot. They always want to learn and be curious. They hire and develop the best. They insist on the highest standards. They think big. They have a bias for action. They're very into frugality. They earn trust. They dive deep. They have a backbone where they disagree and commit, and they deliver results. The one that I like best here is have a backbone, disagree and commit. And what that means is if you have two employees that are differing opinions, they will argue it and they will argue their case and they will come to a decision. And at the end of it, they might say, I disagree with you, but I commit, you have my full support, and they move forward. Jeff Bezos is a big proponent of this, and there's a lot of things that he would have vetoed had he not had this in place, and his employees persevered and won out, and some of the biggest parts of Amazon have come from this. So there's a lot of things that you're going to throw against the wall and see what sticks, and some of them you might fail miserably, but the ones that succeed are going to be home runs, if not grand slams. Sorry, that was a baseball analogy. I'm from the U.S. This is another quote that we love. Run towards your fears. Embrace them. On the other side of your greatest fears lives your greatest life. Nothing good is going to come if you stay in your comfort zone. You're not going to get any positives out of life if you live in a little box. You have to get outside the box. You have to try new things. You have to experiment. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have a higher reward than you do a risk. Every decision that we make is based on risk versus reward. So if it's an asymmetrical risk versus reward, we're going to take that bet every time. And what I mean by that is if we have an item that's, costs us $10 and it's selling on Amazon for $50, the reward is going to be, the upside is going to be much higher than the downside. And we'll experiment and we'll send in 20 pieces and we'll see how it goes. So what we tell our clients is, we're going to help you on strategy. We're going to help you on inventory management, pricing strategies, all the other things that would go into an Amazon, how to create the listings, how to take the pictures, how to do the bullet points, how to do the keywords, how to price your inventory, how to replenish your inventory. All those things are going to come into play when you're selling on Amazon. What we like to tell people is if you have a big catalog of inventory, we'd rather see you send in 10 units of 10 different SKUs than send in 100 units of one SKU. Then you measure the market. We do exactly what Amazon does. We have data, we have analytics, we have metrics. Did the item sell profitably? Did the item sell quickly? Who are our main competitors on this item? And each SKU is its own business. Each one has to stand and die on its own merits. So if you have an item, just to give you an example, we sell something called food shears for babies. It looks like a pair of kids' scissors, but for some reason the Asian people, it must be a cultural thing, they all buy this for their kids. They're food shears, they won an award, and we sell thousands of them every year. We make about $6 on each pair that we sell. They cost us about $5. We sell them for $15. That one SKU generates about $20,000 or $30,000 in profits, and it's a $15 item. So we look at every SKU in our inventory, and we have probably about 30,000 unique SKUs in our inventory, and we have hundreds of thousands of units at Amazon's fulfillment centers at any given time. And obviously, we have software that helps us track the inventory age and the inventory health and the inventory viability. So there's a lot of things you could do with software and technology. I just want to reiterate, embrace the uncertainty. We look to add unique and massive value on Amazon. You have to have points of differentiation, just like any other sales or marketing. You have to set yourself apart from the pack. You have to think outside the box. You have to be creative. You have to add value. You can't just sell the exact same item that everyone else is selling and expect to be wildly profitable. So there's a lot of things that we do strategically to set yourself apart from the other sellers on Amazon. For those of you that didn't hear this earlier, when you're selling on Amazon, all the sellers are on one product listing. It's not like eBay where there's hundreds of listings for the exact same item. It all gets consolidated onto one page, with the idea being that people will lower their prices, which will be a benefit to the Amazon customer. But there's a lot of things that you could do to set yourself apart in that vein. You want to focus on your assets, not your liabilities. So when we work with clients, everything we do is probing questions, open-ended questions. We see what are your unique assets that you could bring to the table to set yourself apart from your competitors. So every business owner, every business has their own unique assets that they can bring to the table, whether it's connections or sources or contacts or, you know, certain products that you can manufacture, certain products that you have access to, whether it be exclusive products or limited edition products or closeout products, you know, liquidation products. There's a million different ways you can go with that. And we focus on your assets, not your liabilities. Differentiate yourself from the competition is more of the same. You want to make sure you're selling internationally and not just locally. I know a lot of people here. How many of you sell internationally? Okay. Anyone who's not selling internationally, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. We started selling internationally about 5.5 years ago, and it changed our entire business model. There's almost 7.5 billion people in the world, and to focus on 25 million or whatever's in Australia, it's not enough in this day and age. You have to be proactive. You cannot be reactive in this business climate. Fill in the voids within the marketplace. So there's a stat I have on a later slide. Amazon.com, there's currently about 500 million products in their catalog, in their database. Amazon sells less than 10% of those products themselves. The rest is from third-party sellers like us. So there's tons of opportunity in the marketplace. Amazon loves it when third-party sellers fill in the voids in the marketplace. They will give you the buy box. They will not source it themselves. If you're competitively priced and you have it at FBA and you always have it in stock, Amazon will not source that product. They will allow a third-party seller who's reputable to sell that on their marketplace, and they'll devote their resources elsewhere. So that's a huge selling point. There's plenty of items that we sell on Amazon that Amazon could easily sell themselves, but they don't. And that's because we always have it in stock. We're not gouging people on the prices, and we have, flawless metrics. Enjoy first mover advantage in this ground floor opportunity. Sorry to use so many business cliches, but you're getting into Amazon, you're still on day one. As Jeff Bezos likes to say, we're still on day one. We're still in the first inning. E-commerce is still in its infancy stages. You didn't miss the boat. You're not too late to the party. There's tremendous, tremendous opportunity. I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm just telling you what the value proposition is with Amazon. It's infinitely scalable. We started, it was me, myself, and I. I brought in my wife. 6 months later, we hired an employee, and then we just kept hiring and hiring as we saw the unlimited potential that was Amazon. If you're in Australia and you're not selling on Amazon.com, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. If you're not selling on Amazon UK, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. I don't know how many of you were in here when Steven Scribe was speaking from Amazon earlier today? Okay, a handful of you. So he said basically what I say. Start with .com. It's got the most traffic. It's got the most eyeballs. It's the easiest barrier to entry. You don't have to deal with VAT and all the other crazy rules that go on in the UK. And you definitely want to start selling on Amazon.com before Amazon comes to Australia. I could tell you what I know about Amazon coming to Australia. They're coming fast and furious. They're probably going to make their first appearance in September of this year. It might be in the form of Amazon Fresh, but long term, and when I say long term, I'm talking about within the next 12 to 18 months, there's going to be Amazon Prime here. There's going to be Amazon Prime Now here. Prime Now means you can get the goods within an hour, okay? So you got to get on board. Amazon at its core is a logistics and technology company, okay? They focus on logistics, infrastructure, and technology. They don't care what widgets or gadgets they're selling, okay? They've created an entire marketplace around infrastructure and logistics and technology, and they've severely impacted any market that they've gone into. For some people like myself, it's been a tremendous blessing. For people like Sears and Kmart, they're on their way out of business. You know, many other retailers, I don't know if you guys follow the U.S. economy, but this year there's been about 9,000 store closings already in the first 5 months. And Chapter 11s and Chapter 7s and selling off assets. That's a good thing and it's a bad thing. You know, the money is still in the economy. It's just being redirected to other places. So you can either adapt or you could die. Not to be crass, but that's the way the world is working right now. I put here, leverage our experience, figure out how Amazon can serve your business. Again, you need to figure out how this serves you well, not how this hurts you. Because if you have that mentality of how's this going to hurt my business, that's exactly what it's going to do. If you have the mentality of how does this serve me, how do I benefit from this, how do I maximize this, how do I monetize this, that's exactly what it's going to do. And it's important to learn from people who have made six-figure mistakes before on Amazon, and it's important to learn from people that have spent tens of thousands of hours learning this very unique marketplace that's very different from eBay or traditional e-commerce with Shopify or any other website platforms. This is a quote that we always like to say. I tell my employees this, I tell my clients this, I tell my children this. The best time to plant the tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So if you're not doing anything internationally, if you're not selling on Amazon.com, it's okay. Just the sooner you get started, the sooner you'll be successful doing that. I know some of you are wildly successful here in Australia. Some of you have, million and billion-dollar businesses. There's no downside to, taking on a new project. Obviously, you shouldn't drop what you're doing and focus on this 100%, but you should definitely make it part of your repertoire, part of your arsenal. We're very focused on, doing our core business very well. Our Amazon business is pretty mature right now, so I'm able to work on the business rather than in the business. I spend 90% of my time on my consulting business and 10% of my time on my Amazon business. We love what we do. We do a lot of joint ventures with clients. We do a lot of private label. We do a lot of real estate investing, and we do a lot of other things that the Amazon business has allowed us to do. So if you're thinking about selling on Amazon, get started. It's not a high barrier to entry. It's not a big commitment of time or money, but you want to put yourself in a position to succeed when the tidal wave comes to Australia, or even before then, on .com. We have clients from Australia that are in Sydney or Melbourne, and they're selling 7 figures on Amazon.com, and they've started less than a year ago. So just to put that in perspective, this is the only business in the world that you can literally be profitable in the first month. You can literally scale up and multiply 10 or 20x in the first year, month over month, year over year. Our business has doubled in size every year for the last 6 years. It's getting harder to double as we get bigger, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get to $100 million in the next 3 years on Amazon. Amazon is the ideal marketplace for all sellers ranging from beginner to advanced to reach their potential customers. It's critical for every business owner to develop their blueprint as a roadmap to success. Many companies worldwide, both big and small, have not done this in the last 20 years. I'm sure you guys know all the stories of all the retailers and the e-tailers that have gone out of business. They didn't view Amazon as a threat. They didn't embrace Amazon, and they were left high and dry. Amazon sales in 2016 were $137 billion. Their market cap has exceeded Walmart's. They recorded $2.4 billion in net income. Obviously, most of their money gets reinvested into infrastructure and building out fulfillment centers, and developing new technologies like Amazon Web Services, Amazon Marketing Services, Amazon Prime, where they're spending billions of dollars on video content and music, and they're creating their own products like Alexa and Echo and all these other dash buttons. So there's a lot of things going on simultaneously within the Amazon ecosystem. And the more you know, the better position you'll be in to succeed. Currently, Amazon employs 350,000 humans and 50,000 robots. So I've been to Amazon's fulfillment centers where they actually have robots bringing the shelves to the pickers and the packers, and it's cutting their picking and packing time, in a third. So they bought a robotics company, Kiva Robotics, many years ago. It was an Israeli-based company. They paid like $775 million for it. And these robots literally pull the shelves to the pickers and bring the merchandise to them so that people don't have to walk 15, 20 miles a day in an Amazon fulfillment center. So robots are coming. They're going to take out a lot of jobs, but there's going to be new jobs. So as long as you're clear with that, you won't be replaced by a robot, hopefully. Amazon.com has over 300 million users. If you put that number in perspective, that's roughly the population of the U.S. They're very active users. I could tell you myself, as much as we sell on Amazon, I probably buy just as much. I haven't set foot in a store in 6 years. We have, my 3-year-old and 4-year-old know what Amazon is, and the boxes come to the house and the warehouse every day. And anything we need, we buy on Amazon. It's just not the best use of our time to get in a car and drive to a mall and go shopping and then go back to the car and then drive home. It's just wildly inefficient. A lot of the malls in the USA are struggling because of Amazon, and they're repurposing the malls. They're putting gyms, they're putting restaurants, they're putting movie theaters, they're doing things that are not typical for shopping malls in the U.S. Because a lot of the retailers are struggling and can't be replaced by other big box retailers. I just wanted to point out one thing here, and then I'll finish the slides and I could open it up to a Q&A. Out of the 2 million third-party sellers that are documented in the U.S., now it's closer to 3 million, but a lot of these people never actually sell stuff on Amazon. They just open accounts. They don't actually start trading on Amazon yet. So out of the 2 million sellers on Amazon.com, there's only 100,000 of them that have made gross sales of over $100,000 a year. So to put that in perspective, it's less than $9,000 a month in gross sales. I think everyone can agree that's not a big number. So only 5% of the sellers are in that category of selling over $100,000 a year. So most people do this as a hobby, like they do eBay and like they do Amazon, and they dabble. They don't immerse themselves. You're not going to make money by dabbling in any business. You all know that. You have to immerse yourself. You have to learn every single thing there is to know about it, and that's where the opportunities lie. That's where the profits come. When you are the master of a certain domain, you're going to be wildly successful. When you can own a niche, they say the riches are in the niches. So if you find a product like pet food or, jewelry or any type of, electronics, whatever you're selling, you have to know that market better than anyone so that when you get offered, a product, if it's going to do well or if it's not going to do well. If it's the right price or it's not the right price. If there's more demand than there is supply. And that's where you're going to make the money. 50% of Amazon sales are through third-party sellers. So of that 137 billion, roughly 70 billion is from third-party sellers. I said this before, in the U.S., over 500 million items. It's 500 million unique items that are in their catalog. They shipped about 2 billion items for third-party sellers in 2016. Obviously, you're all familiar with this quote. It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change, Charles Darwin. So, the people that are going to be successful in the next 10, 20 years are the people that have the ability to adapt. So we like to say that we want to be big enough to scale, but we want to be small enough to be nimble. It's an ever-changing, dynamic marketplace. The rules are changing. The processes are changing. The fees are changing, much like eBay. If you don't have your finger on the pulse of the marketplace, you're dead in the water, right? Just like any other business. If you miss something that's hiding in plain sight, it's going to cost you a lot of money or a lot of time, which equates to money. So there's a lot of things that we do in our own business that we translate to our clients. Like I said, we do wholesale, we do private label, we do closeouts and liquidations, we do brand representation. We're working with Fortune 500 companies that used to sell to Amazon and they hated it, and then they tried selling on Amazon and they hated it even more. And then they got with us and they're selling a couple of $1 million a month of an energy drink on Amazon. So there's a lot of opportunity if you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose a lot of time and money. We're in the top 1% of all Amazon sellers worldwide. We want to help you take your business to the next level. We work with retailers internationally. We have a lot of Australian clients that do very well internationally, and a lot of Australian clients that are preparing for Amazon coming to Australia. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. The most important thing I could tell you guys is mindset. If you don't have the right mindset, you're not going to succeed in e-commerce, whether it be Amazon or any other business for that matter. 80% of business is the psychology of the owner and the staff. And the other 20% is strategies and tactics and implementations. So if you just keep that in mind and you go into this with an open mind, you'll be infinitely more successful. This is just an acronym that I made up about 6 years ago when I started my Amazon business. When I used to be in business, I used to chase money, whether I had my own business or I worked for someone. If somebody offered me a $10,000 raise, I jumped ship and I went to another company. When I started my Amazon business, I decided I don't want to chase money anymore. I want to attract money. And that little shift in my thinking changed everything because I made myself more valuable. I educated myself. I took the time to learn things that most people either won't do or can't do. And once we started doing things that people won't do or can't do, that's where the money came in. So I had these acronyms that I used. And every time I was making a business decision, I said, how do I delegate this? How do I outsource this? How do I automate this? How do I use software? How do I leverage software so that I don't have to have a staff of 100 people? How do I use, how do I focus on processing and logistics and infrastructure and technology and scaling my business? And once I started asking myself those questions day after day after day, the answers became easy. Right? I didn't want to do warehouse work myself, so I hired warehouse workers. I didn't want to do buying, so I hired buyers. And as I started building my business, I found myself making less and less day-to-day decisions and more big decisions, strategies, investors, whatever we had to do to get to the level that we got to. That was all me being able to focus on those things rather than the day-to-day operations. This is a Henry David Thoreau quote. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. You have to be bold in your decisions. You have to take chances in business. Obviously, you want to protect the downside, and you really want to explore this opportunity because it could literally it will change your business whether you get into it or not. So you want to be on the positive side of this coming change. With that, my company is called Amazon Consulting Experts. We work hand in hand with Amazon. They actually refer new sellers to us because we're well equipped to handle new sellers as well as existing sellers. So our ideal client is anyone who has a brick and mortar retail store, sells on eBay, doesn't sell on eBay, has a website, doesn't sell on their own website, and basically we can take any new seller and maximize their presence and their profits on the Amazon Marketplace. We also work with existing sellers that have hit a plateau in their Amazon business. We have a lot of people that come to us and say, hey, I'm stuck at $50,000 or $100,000 a month on Amazon, and we can't quite figure out how to get to the next level. And we're able to, multiply their business by a 5X or a 10X by using the strategies that we use in our own business. Okay, I'm just going to open it up to a Q&A if anyone has any questions for me. Yes, sir. Yes, if you're technically inclined, you can use Amazon's API to upload files, upload inventory. We have some guys that are a lot smarter than me with computers that can upload 50,000 SKUs in the blink of a spreadsheet. There's a lot of information you can extract from their APIs that's not available, on the front-facing page. So there's a lot of data that you can mine with regards to sales velocity and profitability and those types of things through the API. Any other questions? Going once? Yes, sir.
Have you had experienced an instance where a supplier, a manufacturer that you source from, had gone directly to Amazon? And also, if this can become an issue in the next 5 to 10 years, where manufacturers dump resellers and go straight to Amazon?
So it's a great question. Every manufacturer that I deal with or have spoken to with regards to Amazon is still trying to figure out their Amazon strategy. They don't know if they want to sell to Amazon. They don't know if they want to sell on Amazon. They don't know if they want to sell to third-party sellers that are on Amazon. Every company has corporate layers, and for the most part doesn't have a clear Amazon strategy. There have been times where people have, companies have sold on Amazon. They said, we don't want to deal with this. You be our exclusive. And it's gone the other way also. We realize Amazon's a huge marketplace. We're going to do it ourselves, and they've worked with us for a year. And, when we have a client that doesn't renew with us for a second year, we consider that a success because that means they're self-sufficient and we've taught them how to fish rather than just fed them a fish. So there's a lot of opportunity to work with brands and with manufacturers, and there's a lot of opportunity to leverage the demand that already exists for certain brands. There are certain categories where it's going to be more of a challenge than others, and there's certain categories where it's going to be wide open. And that's for you to do the research and know your niche and know your products. And once you're in the game, you'll see the opportunities literally right in front of you. I mean, you'll see things, like I know you're in electronics, you'll see things that, discontinued electronics can often go for 5 times what the current model goes for. We had, I'll tell you a quick story, B&H Photo I used to work for. There was a Nikon camera that got discontinued and it got replaced with a plastic version of the camera. And all the professionals wanted the older model because it was a metal body. And at B&H, we bought $500,000 worth of these cameras. We put them in a warehouse. We locked them up for 6 months. We didn't offer them to anyone. Soon as the market dried up, we put them out there. They were $300 more than the plastic ones, and we sold them all in a month. Those types of things can happen very easily in electronics, and they happen I have a nephew who does health and personal care, and they discontinued a hair coloring or something. And people pay insane amounts of money for this because they don't make it anymore, right? Or women with makeup, or, men with car accessories. It's just like there's so many people out there that, price is not it's not the end-all be-all. So there's a lot of opportunity there to make money. And like I said, once you're in the game, you'll see these things. We sell old iPads for insane amounts of money for whatever reason. And there's a lot of things that we sell that, you wouldn't think have value, but on the Amazon Marketplace, there's always a customer for everything.